But the boxes were expensive, man. I want like, and I got the biggest one possible. I didn't want to be doing all this promotion. Yeah, because about 5 minutes. And and all that, it was about $40 a box. But in doing that, I didn't have to sit down on the floor all day. I got them from Home Depot. And I took a box back.
How many boxes do you have?
16. 16 boxes. So they want my little bonus or whatever. But I didn't, like I said, I didn't want to buy the smaller ones. But on your knees, work on you, it's wear on tear on you. Yeah. And we put that, and the plastic, they sell different types of cords. They sell like a sound barrier type thing. All I wanted was just a vapor barrier. So basically all it is sheets of plastic. And then each sheet that you lay onto the next one, it already has tape on it. So you pull it off, you just way down. And stop working on it.
You have to nail the one to the seat or the outer edge?
The outer edge. Or wherever. No, because it's literally it's only about that much weight from the it's not going to move. And then once you set it down, it's a lot of weight. So it doesn't move like that. It's just starting off. Once you get that first edge, the straight edge, you go. And then you get to that point where you do all that. The problem is finishing because then it gets really thin to be able to move stuff in and cut it.
I'm gonna go behind.
So in general, it was about a 10-hour project. About 10 hours. I was done by, I started on Monday, I was done by Tuesday afternoon.
Took me 2 days to do this. I had to paint it first, wait for that to dry. Then I had to stain.
Yeah.
It was just fun to do. I did it Monday, Tuesday.
I'll tell you.
Oh, come on. At the hours.
I'd like to call to order the regular scheduled meeting of the South San Antonio Independent School District. And today is Monday, November 26, 2018, and the time is 6 p.m. Could I have roll call, please, Mrs. Martinez?
Mrs. Angelina Ostiguin,
Present.
Mr. Luis Ibarra Jr.,
Here.
Mr. Edward Munguia,
Here.
Mrs. Leticia Guerra, Mrs. Connie Prada, present. Mr. Luis Rodriguez, Mrs. Ella Flores.
Present. Okay, at this time, we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance, Texas Pledge, the prayer, and the call to action.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The Texas Pledge. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
And our prayer. Dear Lord, we thank you for the privilege of meeting today, for the successful outcome of our school board meeting, and for our South San ISD community. Amen.
Amen. Call to action.
All students enjoy successful education experiences, empowering them to make decisions while enriching their lives and the future they create.
Okay, board, I do have to request a change of order to move up number 3 to number 1. Oh, wait, yes. Okay, and then, wait, before we move number 3 to number 1, also to include the superintendent's remarks, because we've got to put it on the agenda. Is there any objection? Okay, so then the superintendent's remarks.
Well, first and foremost, I'd like to welcome everybody. I hope that everybody had a very restful Thanksgiving week and that you're coming back rested and ready for the challenge of educating our kids. And so we'd like to welcome you back. At this time, I would also like to offer this portion of the meeting to any departing board members who would like to say a couple of words in terms of the work that they've done over the past 4 years or 2 years, whatever we determine them out as.
Mr. Kincaid?
Well, it's certainly been an honor to serve here at South San since January 2017. I came in when it seemed to be sort of a lull in South San. There was 2 resignations and the applicants were liked. And so, you know, I had stepped up and accepted the challenge to sit up here and make some hard decisions, which we did do. So I'm very proud of the work we've done. As a team of 8, we successfully sought and appointed unanimously a great superintendent, who I believe is going to do some great things here at South San. He's going to fix all the problems we have here.
No pressure.
And so I say that to the incoming board members, that that is what you can achieve when you all work together as a team of 8. We did have some differences along the way, but ultimately, when we were united, we made the best decisions for the school district, and we moved in one uniform direction. And so I want to say congratulations to my successor, Mr. Flores. I know you're going to do a good job here, and if there's anything I can do for you, please let me know. Thank you.
I also wanted to thank my community for the privilege of being on the board. Whew, 4 years was a very long time. Change is good, and to my successor, I wish you the best. It's not easy to any of the board members coming in. It is not easy, the decisions you have to make. They are hard and challenging, but always keep kids at the forefront. And if you can sleep at night, you make the best decision. That was a piece of advice given to me by a prior president board member, and it really, really did help. And to the new superintendent, I know that you have some challenges ahead of you, but I know that we selected the right person for the challenge. And it came at a time where we were unified as a board, and I hope that it continues that. And I believe it will. I believe the incoming board members have the kids at their forefront, and I believe that they're going to make those tough decisions and whatever it needs to be. And thank you.
One more thing, at this time we have a plaque to present to our outgoing board members in appreciation for all your unselfish dedication, hard work, and commitment to South San ISD. So when I call your name, if you will come down, and Dr. Flores will present you the plaque, and just hold for a bit so I can maybe take a picture. So first, let's have Mr. Edward Munguia.
Just like a diploma, so you gotta shake your hand.
1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thank you for your service. Thank you, we appreciate it. Thank you.
And now I'd like to call Mrs. Angelina Osigui. Thank you.
Thanks for your service. I appreciate it.
Okay, so now we have discussion and action to declare unopposed candidate in single member district number 4, to declare unopposed candidate elected to office and other matters related to Title I, Chapter 2 of the Texas Election Code. Do I hear a motion? So moved. Do I hear a second?
Second.
A motion has been made by Mrs. Ostergein, seconded by Mr. Ibarra. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Now we're going to be doing presentation of certificates of election and simultaneously administration of the oath of office. And so we'll begin with District 1. Who will be giving the oath to District 1? Okay, you can come up to the front, and you can have all your family members come up with you as you accept the oath. Ms. Martinez?
Okay,
Raise your right hand.
so you'll repeat after me. I state your name,
I, Manny Martinez,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the duties
that I will faithfully execute the duties
of the office of South San Antonio ISD Board Trustee
South San Antonio ISD Board Trustee
of the state of Texas,
of the state of Texas,
and will to the best of my abilities
and will to the best of my abilities
preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution,
preserve, protect, and
defend the
defend
Constitution,
the Constitution
and laws of the United States of this state,
and laws of the United States of this state,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Now, district number 3, the person administering the oath, the trustee, and family members.
Voice, please raise your right hand.
I, Homer Flores Jr.,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to affirm
to affirm
that I will faithfully
that I will faithfully
execute the duties
execute the duties
of the office of
of the office of
South San Antonio ISD Board of Trustees
South San ISD Board of Trustees
of the state of Texas,
of the state of Texas,
and will the best of my ability
and with the best of my ability,
preserve,
preserve,
protect,
protect,
and defend the Constitution
and defend the Constitution
and laws
and laws
of the United States
of the United States
and of this state,
and of this state,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
Can I have District 4, the trustee, family members, and the one administering the oath?
I state your name.
I, Shirley Cuadra Peña,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully
I will
execute
execute
the duties of the office of
the duties of the office of
South San Antonio ISD
South San Antonio ISD
Board of Trustees,
Board of Trustees,
the state of Texas,
the state of Texas,
and will, to the best of my ability,
and will to the best of my ability
preserve,
preserve
protect,
and protect
and defend
and defend
the Constitution
the Constitution
and laws of the United States
and the laws of the United States
and of the state,
and of the state,
so help me God.
so help me God.
District 6, the trustee, the person administering the oath, and the family members.
I state your name.
Gilbert F. Rodriguez,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute
that I will faithfully execute
the duties of the office of
the duties of the office of
South San Antonio ISD
South San Antonio ISD
Board of Trustees,
Board of Trustees,
the state of Texas,
the state of Texas,
and will to the best of my ability
and will, to the best of my ability,
preserve,
preserve,
protect, and defend
protect, and defend
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the United States
of the United States
and of the state,
and of this state,
so help me God.
so help me God.
All right, at this time, the new board members can come take their seats.
Members of the board, we're coming now to item number 4. Here's where we are. We just cycled off the president and vice president of the board of trustees. This item will be conducted then by the last remaining officer of the board. Ms. Flores will preside over this item. Then after that, presuming that shall reach a conclusion, whoever is elected as the president will preside over the balance of the meeting. Is that all right? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hamlin. Item number 4 under election matters of the agenda says discussion and possible action to elect board officers pursuant to Texas Education Code 11.061 and South San ISD Board Policy BDAA Legal and Local. Any discussion, or do I hear a motion? Do I hear a motion?
Oh, I'm sorry. Madam Chair, I have a motion. I would like to make a motion. I move that we appoint Connie Fowler as president, Silva Rodriguez as vice president, and Shirley Letterman as secretary.
Do I hear a second?
I second that.
Okay, a motion has been made by Ms. Shirley Ibarra Peña for restructuring of the board for president, Ms. Connie Prado, vice president, Mr. Gilbert Rodriguez, and secretary, Ms. Shirley Ibarra Peña, seconded by Mr. Gilbert Rodriguez. Do we have, can we vote now? Do we have any yeses? Raise your hand. Any noes? Any abstentions? So it's, a motion passes, 4 yeses and 2 abstentions. Ms. Prado, congratulations, you're board president.
Thank you, Ms. Flores. At this time, I'd like to allow our newly elected board members, if they so choose, to say a few words. Anyone would like to say anything? Any comments?
Yes, Madam President, I sure would.
Mr. Rodriguez?
First, I'd like to thank the outgoing board members. It takes a certain commitment and an enormous amount of passion to be in the position that we're in up here and making decisions in the education of our children. So, you know, that goes without saying. Speaking for myself, I want to assure you that I am 110% committed, have an enormous amount of passion in doing what's right for our kids, and I'm looking to maximize the strength and minimize our weaknesses and collaborate with all the rest of our board members to do what's right. And I can assure you that that's going to be the case, without question. And I don't underestimate the privilege that we have over here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Martinez?
I also would like to thank the previous board members. I know it was a hard job. I know we are going to be faced with a hard job. I hope to make you proud. First and foremost, it's going to be students. It's going to be the faculty, staff, community. That is my ultimate goal. Education is what I live for. That is what I do every day. I hope to make you all proud.
Thank you, Ms. Martinez. Anyone else?
I want to thank the school board for this opportunity, and my passion is for the students as well as for the community to do right, and for the teachers, and I'm just honored to have this privilege.
I want to thank Mr. Edward Munguia for the kind words. I really appreciate it. I definitely appreciate the opportunity to be up here. I want to dedicate part of what I'm doing for the school is to my late mother. She worked for the school district. She bled blue, and I dedicated this win to her. I want to thank my father, Homer Flores Sr., for being a mentor and for serving honorably in the school district prior to this. I want to thank my fiancée, Catherine Ariza, and all her family, my children that were able to support me and help me in the campaign. And I assure you that I am here to serve the children, to serve the community, serve the staff, and I am excited to want to work with Dr. Flores, the superintendent, and all the school board members, some that I went to school with and graduated with. And I am terribly excited and hope to do a good job and make everybody proud.
I just have one thing that I'd like to say. Today we're going to face some challenges. We're going to face academic challenges. We could possibly face some financial challenges. We don't know yet. But I think the board sitting here today stands ready to work with the superintendent. And I'm hoping that the superintendent is also ready to work with the board, with all 7 of us. It takes a team of 8, and we've done very well so far, and I foresee a lot of successes coming with this new board that's here and our new superintendent. So I'm ready to move our school district forward. Most of you probably already know this is my last 2 years. I'm not going to seek re-election. So I'm ready to roll up my sleeve and let's get this district moving in the right direction. Thank you. Board members, if there are no objections, I'd like to take a brief recess, so that the newly board members can go out with their family members and friends and greet them and take a few more pictures before we go into closed session. So we'll take a recess at this time. At this time, the board will reconvene their meeting, and the time is 6:35. Before we go into closed session, board members, it's my intent to change the change order of the day and to move up the citizens to be heard segment to immediately follow the closed session. Is there any opposition to that? No? Okay, good. So then now we will go into closed session. The board will now convene into closed meeting pursuant to the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code 551.071, 551.072, 551.074, 551.076, 551.082, and 551.0821. Number one is discussion concerning personnel matters pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.074. And number two is pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.071, consultation with the school district's attorney regarding pending litigation style civil action number 518 CB 00471 FB. Ruben Martinez versus South San Antonio Independent School District in the United States District Court, Western District of Texas, San Antonio Division. And the time is 6:36.
It's hot in here. It's like every other time my eyebrows melted off.
The board will now be convened into open session, and the time is 7:35. Next item on the agenda is citizens to be heard. The first person signed up to speak is Mr. Tom Cummings.
Trustees, Dr. Flores, staff, yes.
Mike's not.
Okay, hold on that time. All right. Ms. Prado, trustees, Dr. Flores, members of the board, staff and guests. My name is Tom Cummings, and I'm representing the South San chapter of the American Federation of Teachers. For the new members who may not know us, we're a union that teachers and support personnel in South San since 1975. On behalf of the South San AFT members, I would like to welcome the new trustees, Ms. Martinez, Ms. Flores, Ms. Ibarra Peña, and Mr. Rodriguez. We welcome you and look forward to working with you. Congratulations on your election. Also, Ms. Prado, congratulations on your election and the officers, newly elected officers. As you know, excuse me. As you know, South San has been through very difficult times in the last 10 years when you consider the number of superintendents that have served during that time. But we're very proud of our record of keeping the academic program strong, supporting it, and insulating the classroom from any negative things that might go on when the superintendents came and went. But these events have had an impact on employee morale. So we hope that you will work with us as a number one priority to improve employee morale within the district.
You have 1 minute, Mr. Cummings.
Thank you. Finally, the legislature meets in January, and I would like to give each of you our legislative brochure. We would like very much to work with the board and working with the politicians who represent this area to make sure that they represent the needs excuse me, of the South San School District. Ms. Prado is all right with you, and give these to the secretary.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
Mr. Cummings. Okay, next signed up to speak is Ms. Stacy Alvarez.
Good evening, members of the board, newly elected. I'm super excited. Superintendent. Today's a good day. It's a new beginning, a new start, and I'm super excited to see faces up there that are going to move forward with the rest of the board and put our kids first. I think this is actually the first meeting in a long time where I'm not upset about something. So I'm excited. The only thing I ask, and I have full faith in these new board members, is that the kids are first, that we concentrate on the kids, and that everything that we work for is for the kids. You know, just stick to what's right and do what's right by the kids and not by what somebody's telling you. I'm super excited about you, Dr. Flores. I'm super excited about all the new board members and the previous who are here. I can't wait to see the work that you're going to get done and pick our district back up where it belongs. You know, we have so much potential. We have a lot of teachers here and a lot of educators and principals that were banking on these races, and I believe the morale is going to go up with you guys. I know that you're going to support our teachers and our principals, and I'm just super, super excited. So let's knock this out of the park and fix it, guys. I'm super excited. Congratulations to everybody. Ms. Prado, congratulations to your president's seat, and guys, let's get it done. I'm excited. Congratulations.
Next, we have Jason Pryor.
Ho, 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 everybody! December the 8th, from 10 to 2. I'd like to recognize McNair for the poster.
All right, this is our Blue Santa for our annual Blue Santa Parade.
Let's invite you all to the November parade, December the 8th, from 10 to 2. And I'd like to recognize McNair for the blue. For White Middle School.
Thank you so much. That concludes our citizens to be heard. Now we'll move on to the presentation and reports. The first item is report on Goal 2 and Goal Progress Measures 2.1, 2.2, 2.3% of students performing at master's level in math. Dr. Flores.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Castro?
Yes. Sorry, I just want to make sure we have the White Middle School poster posted. Yes,
Yeah, we're ready to go.
okay. Yes, sorry. No. Ms. Prado, Madam President, Board of Trustees, I'd like to introduce Ms. Amy Shields, our Director of Teaching and Learning, that will be leading us through this presentation today.
Good evening. I'm here to report on Goal 2 and Goal Progress Measures 2.1, 2.2, and 2.3, which are regarding our mathematics goals. So Goal 2, just to review, is about the master's level performance of our students in mathematics. And our goal is to be at 20% by 2022. But our goal for 2019, as you can see, is 13.4% of our students performing at the master's level. Goal Progress Measure 2.1 is focused on third grade. And remember that third grade is the first time students take a STAR exam or assessment. The percentage of students that we would like to perform at master's grade level this year is 11.75% and increasing to 20% by 2022. Goal 2.2 is focused on fifth grade. So we would like also them to be at 20% by 2022, but the goal for 2019 is 17.75%. And then goal 2.3 is about the performance at MEETS level for our 8th grade students. And we would like them to be at 60% MEETS by 2022. And our goal for 2019 is 24%. So one of the ways that we are able to pinpoint the needs of our students is by giving them the measures of academic progress assessment. So after the first 4 weeks of instruction, the students were given the assessment and to assess their current math skills and abilities. And the test finds where the kids are on level, above level, or below level in the skills that we are required to teach our students in the state of Texas and also for SHARP. So they're assessed in 4 areas, and you can see in grades 3 through 5 and 6 through 8 that the areas are similar, and they also align, like I said, to our standards in the state of Texas and what the students are assessed on. Math is an online diagnostic assessment. It's adaptive. So if students answer a question correctly, it gives them a little bit harder question. If they answer it wrong, it gives them an easier question. And it keeps going and going and going until it finds out exactly where they are on, above, or below level in all the different skills. So each teacher, their students are classified into 5 groups. And so they get a report that's color-coded this way, and it classifies them into low average, average, high average, or high. And so it gives them an overall score, it groups them that way, and then it gives them a score in each of the 4 areas that they're assessed in, and classifies them that way as well. And we do the assessment 3 times yearly because we want to assess to see if our students are making progress on the skills that we are working with them. So the teachers have access to a variety of reports, individual reports, class reports, and they use these reports to create intervention groups or even extension groups for students who are ready to have their learning extended on different skills. The individual student data, like we said, it shows exactly where kids are working on, below, or above in the different skills. And we just, like I said, had our beginning of the year in September, and we will take our middle of the year assessment in January. And we are looking for growth. So this is an example of an individual student report. So you will see it gives them a score, and it tells us where they rank nationally in relation to other students in their same grade level. And it also predicts their performance level on STAR. If you pay attention to the green arrow, that is one of the areas of the 4, and it also assigns them a score. And on the next slide, it would show for this student. So for that area, these are the SEs that this student needs additional instruction on. So this student happened to be a 4th grader. So you can see that there are on-level SEs that they would need instruction in, and there are also some below-level SEs that this student would need instruction in. So this would be an example of a class breakdown by goal. So along the left column are the 4 areas they were assessed in, and then it gives groups of students of how you would group them and intervene accordingly. So there's a green box around one group. And so this shows for that group of students the SEs in that area that they need additional instruction in. So these also were 4th graders. So you'll notice that there are below level, on level, and even above level SEs that they would need instruction in. So opportunities for intervention and extension. So after 4 weeks of instruction, the students were given the test, and this is the projections based on that test. We were giving STAR on this day. So of course we have lots of instruction that's going to take place between now and STAR, and also lots of interventions based on the data that we received from this test. So in regards to the goal progress measures, these are the projections of how we would perform given the data that we received from the first test. So as far as the 3rd graders performing at the master's level, the goal is 11.75%, and the current projection is 3.4%. 5th grade, the goal is 17.75%. The current projection is 3%. And then with the meets level for 8th graders, The goal is 24%, and the current projection is 23.9%. So this breaks down the data by campus. It puts all the third, fourth, and fifth graders together, all their math. So that would be their approaches, the projected, after 4 weeks of instruction, projected levels for approaches, needs, and masters. And then here is the middle school projections, which put your 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students together for math. And those are the projections at this time after 4 weeks of instruction. So with regard to this data, we had some grades that scored below the district average, which are grades 3, 4, and 7. So we have been, since the beginning, doing some very targeted things because we knew, looking at our STAR data last year, where we're going to need to provide additional support. So with our 3rd grade teachers, they are planning directly with the math coaches on the campuses. And then with 4th grade, we have been providing targeted professional learning for them since July. And so they've had 5 sessions for professional learning that is focused on their math content, the use of manipulatives, how to deliver the content in engaging ways so we can make sure the majority of our kids, as many as possible, are mastering the SEs. And then in 7th grade, we are also having district-wide across all 3 campuses. We have teachers collaborating and planning together and sharing ideas and resources and ensuring that their lessons are aligned. And so that has been going on since the summer as well. We have some grade levels as well that scored above the district average, which are 5th, 6th, and 8th grade. We are providing targeted support also to 5th grade. The math facilitator has also been leading professional learning with 5th grade teachers. And as far as 6th grade and the gains that we saw there, the middle schools with the academies are providing 6th graders with an accelerated curriculum. They're doing a lot of project-based learning, and they also get support in their added class every day. And then with the 8th graders, they've also been engaged in 8th grade teachers. They've been engaged in professional learning and also cross-campus planning as well since the summer. And they've had 4 sessions so far. You may have noticed when we looked at the elementary page with all of the scores that Kindred and Cadio were the 2 lowest scoring elementaries. These campuses are our improvement required campuses. And so we have really been working to identify those gaps. And we are focusing on grade 3 at Kindred and grade 4 at Cadio. We have also hired additional teachers to reduce class size, and each of those campuses has a dedicated math coach that is there to support all teachers on the campus every day. And then on a good note, with both of those campuses, they are both performing at the district average with approaches, and they are actually performing above the district average in needs. That completes my presentation, but I would be happy to entertain any questions that you have.
Board members, if you have any questions, I'm sure a lot of people have questions. Just raise your hands, I can recognize you, so everybody gets a chance to ask a question. Who would like to go first? Ms. Flores?
Amy, thank you for the presentation.
You're welcome.
I know it's very early in the year, and there's still a lot of learning, there's still a lot of measuring, but there's one school that I like to give kudos to, and that is Price, because I'm seeing that if you total up, if you go back to so that the rest of the board members in the audience can see, one who you have right there, the elementary projected performance levels. You look at Price, and you total up 66, 24, and 6. Okay, they're 4 percentage points away from 100, all those totals. That tells me that only 4% of those kids that are does not meet. That's probably, am I correct? So we're saying out of 100% of the students, And we're looking at third, fourth, and fifth graders, correct?
We're looking at third, fourth, and fifth graders. So remember that the kids that are calculated in approaches are also in meets and masters. The kids that are calculated in meets are also in masters. So looking at price, you do have 34% of the kids that are projected not to meet at this point.
Not to meet at this time, okay. But still, their totals look a lot better than all the others, and when I'm looking at 100% of all students, because we don't want to leave any students out. We are looking at the approaches, the meets, and the masters, but how about the ones that are not there, not even at approaches yet? That's what I'm concentrating a little bit on, but I want to give kudos to that school because it looks like there's, more kids that are on their way that way. My question is this: how are these results being explained to the individual parents of those kids that are struggling? Those kids that are struggling with math and they don't have those skills. So how are we engaging the parents in the education and the learning of their children, whether they are on target or not on target? And I know the principals were here before, but they're not here anymore for them to answer. But to me, that is, how do the parents know where their children fall at this point? And is our district going to be engaging the parents and where to find out where their students are?
So this report is, like we said, this report right here is the individual student report that they can use to talk with parents about exactly how their students are scoring and projected to perform at this time. And then they're able to talk to the parent about exactly which SEs that they are working with the students on, if they're asking them to stay for tutoring, or if they're using happy numbers or exact path, which they can also do at home. So they're able to use these reports to have those conversations with the parents and telling them, okay, right now during this time period, we are focusing on these skills with your student.
And I understand that, individual student data reports, but how do I know that? I guess I want to know what are the strategies that our schools are using to get the parents to come in and talk individually with them about where their children are at? Is it being done?
I'm not prepared to answer that question. I can give you that information though by the end of the week about how the individual campuses are handling that and conferencing with parents about this.
It's important that the parents understand and they know where their children are at because they are partners in the education of their children, not just, the responsibility does not fall completely on the school, but the parents need to know. So they will not be surprised at the end of the year if their child is failing. They need to know at this point where their children are at, if they can, that way they can support the interventions and they can support, whatever the child needs as extra to help that child get to where they need.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Mr. Rodriguez?
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you for the presentation, Amy. I have to say that I've sat in these presentations previously, and this is a lot more data. So that's a good thing. We're kind of getting a little bit more granular so we know where we need the most work on. Just two questions. So the instructional coaches for the teachers, which is a great thing, teach the teacher and support. Do we solicit feedback from our teachers to say, this instructional coach or this method or is working, not working, I can use this? Do we solicit that feedback so that we're helping them where they need the most help?
Part of being an instructional coach is building a relationship with the teacher, and it's a two-way conversation between the two people about what the goals are. The teacher talks to the instructional coach about, what is it that they need help and support with, and they look at data together, and they plan together, and they talk about, okay, where are your kids struggling? What strategies can I give you or show you that would help your kids perform at a higher level? So yes, that is a constant back and forth two-way conversation.
Great, thank you. And that was a good question, Ms. Flores, because I was actually going to go down that path on how are we initiating contact with parents, the guardian of the child, to let them know this is where we are academically with your student, and this is the approach that we want to take to get them on a path to be successful. And I understand teachers, they work a lot, they put in a lot of time, with the students and with the instructional coaches, trying to develop a successful strategy for the kids. And it's very exhausting. I sympathize with them. But how, and I understand you were going to get that answer, but how do we initiate that contact with the parent? Because I'm a parent. I take the steps to initiate, but how do we initiate those conversations so that way we can have that partnership, so that way the parents and guardians are engaged to have our kids be successful? And maybe for the superintendent, I know at times we have, after hours resources, and maybe making those resources available where grandma, grandpa, and uncle, whoever the guardian is, maybe mom and dad that don't have resources at home, we can make them available to say, hey, on these days, come in and work on these areas that we need, that we've identified that we need help with. So just some ideas. But thank you very much.
Anyone else? Any other questions? Okay, I just have one question. On the individual student data sheet that you have here on the screen, is this what is shared with the parents when you do get to meet with them? Because if I take this sheet and I go hand it to somebody in the audience who's a parent, they're not going to know what this is. It's not friendly, is what I'm saying. So teachers may have to do a lot of explaining if you're going to go through each one of these. Is there something more simplistic that you can show them and share with them that they'll understand, that won't require so much time to sit down and say, well, this says use objectives, pictures, and expanded standard forms to represent numbers up to 120. And so to them, this is French, So what else are you using when you meet with the parents besides this individual student data?
This is one thing they could use, but I think there's more simplistic ways that they could pinpoint, okay, even though this says all this, these are the skills that I'm working with your child. Because the SEs do read like French, as you said, and sometimes even when the math teach changed, we were struggling to interpret what the committee that put these together meant. And so the things underneath them, I think, are a little clearer and a little bit more explanatory of what that SE, student expectation, actually means. And so they're able to say, okay, of these, I'm working with your student on these particular skills, and probably in more layman terms where it's easier to understand.
Absolutely. I think that would help tremendously. Thank you so much for your presentation. Okay, moving on, we have
I just want to touch base on something real quickly that I know that in the time that I've been spending speaking to our staff and getting to know our community better, I do know that there's a great need to provide more than just basic educational services to our parents and our students. I know that a lot of times all this stuff is great, like you said, it's French to them in many ways, and it's not that because our parents don't care about our kids. It really is because a lot of times that the needs that they have extend far beyond just educational needs. We have kids that are homeless right now. We have kids that are living with grandparents right now, sleeping on couches, not getting meals. So the community outreach needs to extend beyond just we provide instruction. The teachers have a difficult job. These folks out here are working really hard at breaking down the data. But until we start meeting the basic needs that are many of our community, because the 34% of price that are not needing even approaches, those are the kids that we need to reach. And the way we reach them is through reaching the parents and providing them supports, wraparound services. Those are the kinds of things that are going to make a difference for our community so that our parents feel that we genuinely care about their well-being. Once we start caring about their well-being, then the educational pieces are going to start falling into place. So there's a lot of work to do in that regard as well. And it's not because of a lack of effort, it's not because of a lack of data. We have a lot of that. What we need to start really looking at is how are we going to provide the kinds of resources and support that many of our members of our community really need. I think that once we start nailing those parts down and start showing our community that we're here to support them way beyond just providing instruction in the general classroom, I think that we'll start seeing the results that we're looking for. And they'll start showing up to those classes where we start getting lessons on individual student data and how the kids perform and whatnot. So you can expect those things from our administration moving forward by all means.
Thank you, Dr. Floyd.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, moving on to item number 2, report on superintendent constraint progress measure 2.2. Campus administration will develop a clear and defined improvement plan detailing explicit support measures for teachers scoring below proficient in domains 2 and 3 after informal observations, walkthroughs. Dr. Flores.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Castro?
Thank you. I'm going to ask Ms. Lorraine De Leon, our Executive Director for Curriculum and Instruction, to lead this presentation. Ms. De Leon?
Good evening, Madam President, Board of Trustees, Dr. Flores. In South San, our fundamental commitment to our students is to ensure that every classroom is led by a rock-solid proficient teacher. We believe the teacher is the program. Therefore, last summer, the Board of Trustees, along with administration and campus administrators, made revisions to Constraint 2. To ensure that our classrooms are led by rock-solid proficient teachers, our principals conduct a minimum of 3 walkthroughs per semester for each and every teacher. When a teacher shows a pattern of performing below proficient, principals then begin to develop personalized support plans to coach up the teachers. T-TEST, which is called, it's the Texas Teacher Evaluation and Support System, that is the state evaluation system. T-TEST categorizes domain 2 with 5 components. The first one being achieving expectations, you see it following by content knowledge and expertise, 2.3 communication, 2.4 differentiation, 2.5 monitor and adjust. When the principal conducts walkthroughs, they look for evidence of these components in the lessons. Additionally, when principals go in to make observations of the learning environment, they look for domain 3, which has 3 components. Again, principals are looking for evidence of procedures, routines, transitions, that they are clear and efficient. All students, regardless of their zip code, deserve high-quality instruction. In South San, this expectation happens every day and begins on the first day of school. So technically, here in South San, walkthroughs do start on the first day of school. Principals begin walking, we call them speed walks, and then they conduct regular walkthroughs as well. So this part we shared back in July, our commitment to our teachers. It is also a top priority to coach up our teachers. We know that student outcomes is always aligned to to teacher efficacy. So it's important that we have high quality teachers so we can deliver those high quality lessons. This year, principals are conducting what we call hyper monitoring walkthroughs. So principals have identified priority teachers, and these priority teachers are visited at least once weekly with a feedback session. Again, the intent is to go provide granular feedback. Principals go in, conduct an observation, look at one area that they can quickly rectify, and so through the feedback session, they'll provide a granular, very bite-sized strategy that they'll share with the teacher, and the teacher can go back and implement. And then following that feedback session, principals will go back to ensure that there is implementation of that bite-sized strategy. This timeline was also shared back in July. So this is our plan. This has been shared with principals. So right now, principals are continue to identify priority teachers, and these are teachers that need additional support. Most importantly, principals are developing those personalized support plans. It is critical that our teachers get better faster, as our students don't have any time to wait. And as you see, December will be the month when we start our formal 45-minute observations. And so principals will continue to monitor all teachers, but especially monitor those priority teachers. And based on the evidence that has been collected in those few months, it'll be a determination will be made after the new year to see if we need to proceed with if principals will recommend any non-renewals. We want good teachers in South San, and not everyone is equipped to work with our students. I wanted to show you earlier, I mentioned T-test, and so this is an example of a rubric. And so when principals and assistant principals go into the classrooms and conduct those walkthroughs, they use this rubric, and they start at the proficient, so they start at the center, what we call rock solid proficient, and from the proficient, then they look for evidence to see whether the teacher stays in the middle of that column or moves to the left of the continuum or to the right of the continuum. T-test was created on a bell curve, which indicates that some teachers, typically it's about maybe 10% will fall at the distinguished end, while there could be another additional 10% at the improvement needed, while the majority fall within the proficient range and then teeter-tottering to developing and accomplished. And lastly, I'd like to show the data. This was collected as of November 1st, and this is data that we pulled from our Eduphoria system, where we're looking at, we monitor, the number of walkthroughs when we go to campuses and we meet with our principals. We check to see that they're on track to the walkthroughs, and we provide them any additional support. And so as you can see here, again, most of the teachers fall in the proficient, what we call rock solid proficient. And some following about 6% at the improvement needed. Some of those teachers, likely all those teachers are on growth plans, and some may even be on a second support plan. And that was for domain 2. And the next data point is for the learning environment. So this again has to do with the procedures and routines that are set up in the classroom. So again, most of the teachers fall in the proficient range, with some falling to the left of the continuum, here improvement needed and developing, and about 7% at accomplished, and 1% are distinguished. So those are our master teachers, typically master teachers. That concludes this presentation. Are there any questions?
Any questions, board members? Ms. Flores?
Thank you, Lorraine, for the presentation. I just have a question on these charts. What are the grade, is it all teachers beginning with what grade are being measured here?
All teachers. All teachers now.
Starting with pre-K?
Yes,
Okay, all the way up to the high school. Okay. And we're looking at every content area taught?
Correct.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. Ibarra?
Thanks, Lorraine, for the presentation. If somebody's on the second phase of the support plan or growth plan, how many phases is there? How many stages is there before we take more?
So typically, a support plan can last anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks. And so that is with intensive support. So they'll put activities such as lesson planning with the instructional coach, co-teaching, modeling. So there are some stuff that is stipulated within, some activities that are stipulated within the support plan. And so again, with the constant monitoring, going in and observing and ensuring that the teacher is, once that we've developed those lesson plans with the coaches, that they're in fact implementing them with fidelity. So if we go back to do the inspecting and we see that teachers are still falling below that proficient level, that some of the strategies are not being implemented, then we follow up with further conferences, and if necessary, some teachers will not meet the first support plan, and so therefore a second support plan is created, and it can be with some of the same objectives, or we add additional as needed.
Okay, and all this is like in their personal file as they kind of go along in their career with us?
Yes, and the goal, well, and let me add, I want to be clear that support plans are that. It's a support plan, so the intent is to provide them support and have them respond to the coaching. We're trying to change the mindset. When the state created T-test, it's a growth model. And so before the previous PDOS, we had something called exceeds expectations. And so many teachers, even myself, us that have been in the business a long time, we always wanted the exceeds, that's the master teacher. But with this model, it's a growth plan model, which means what the state is saying is we just, there's rock solid proficient teaching those dimensions. So, so there's growth, so the intent with the state is going, it's a growth model, so we're coaching teachers and telling them it's about growing, it's about them responding, because ultimately their strength will align to student outcomes.
And just to be clear, I just want to know that if the teacher continues to do bad, there's ways and methods and procedures in there where it's not going to be a surprise if they get non-renewed.
That's absolutely correct, sir. I mean, with this additional support, the lesson planning, the continuing conversations, the walkthroughs, teachers will know very clearly, whether they're making progress or not. And again, our priority is to support the teacher.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ivette. Anybody else? Mr. Flores?
Great presentation, ma'am, but I want to ask if you can go back to the screen where it says February.
Okay, right. That one, sir?
Maybe further. It's the part where it says that in February you're gonna talk to the teacher, right?
Timeline, yes.
Okay. Non-renewal, yes. That it's gonna be reviewed like in February. Is that too premature? And that time, because could there be an incredible comeback for that teacher? Could there be a turnaround? Because
we will provide support to we will build layers of support. We'll continue to layer. I mean, it behooves us to continue that support. At some point, as we stated, maybe the right fit is not South End. Maybe because again, some of our students come with different levels of needs. But the goal too is to also give teachers that opportunity to. One, we spend the whole semester working with them, and we don't leave them alone. It's a matter of providing that support, but also being fair to them. Conversations will not happen probably till April.
Okay, yeah, because when I'm thinking February, like what the month said, they can probably start feeling like, they're taking that mindset into their teaching, and all of a sudden the whole class crashes, right? Or now all the numbers are impacted because they're not as engaged with the students because they're doing bad. I just want to be assured that they're offered all the resources possible to say, we still believe in you because you still have your job here, you're still with the kids.
Right.
Right. So,
And typically, the reason the way it follows is that in districts, you'll see where the superintendent's contract gets addressed in January, administrators in February, teachers typically in March. And so the reason why you're making the recommendations in February so you can take it to the board in March, if that's the route that it's gonna go. Is there always room for improvement? By all means. Is there a chance that they could turn their game around? Yes. The reason why it's also called this early is in the event that they're looking for employment in another district to be successful somewhere else maybe, then they get the opportunity to still move on, because typically between March and May is where you get to have the most opportunity for employment for the following year. Once you start hitting into the summer and into the early fall, now you're picking up a lot of alternative certification folks, or folks that have not gone through teaching certification programs at the university level. So this is why the timelines historically across the state of Texas are built around the same months. Yes, sir.
Part of the schedule is also dictated by legal concerns. We want to give them the bad news in February, so they have a chance, they do have a chance to improve their conduct before we make the decision whether to let them go or not. But they're going to want, they're always going to say, if you hold it until April and you lower the boom on it, they're going to say, well, I didn't see that coming. So part of this is so they can see it coming, so they do have one more chance to conform to the norms with respect to that. So we want to be blunt at a point in time, so I'm going to have to do a reasonable assessment, but also give them a chance to fix it one last time before we make the decision with respect to whether to retain their services or not for the following year. So in other words, they get a bad evaluation in February, you're not done, but you got some work to do. Yeah, I mean, that's basically where we are.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for the presentation. The stuff, for the teachers, very, very important. They're the lifeblood. They're getting the outcomes. And I understand that it's student outcomes and it's results driven. So my question is, if you could just bring back one of the slides, the one that starts in the middle and they go left or right on their evaluation piece. So the walkthroughs, is that just one criteria that's used to define proficient, accomplished, distinguished? Is that one criteria or the only criteria?
There's actually 4 domains, so there's a professional development component as well. There's a lesson. The main one is the lesson planning component, and then it follows with the instruction, the actual delivery of instruction, which is your domain 2, and then domain 3 is the learning environment, which is the discipline and the routines. So there's actually 4 domains, but this one here shows the actual delivery, and students are responding to the lessons that they're delivering.
And do we identify the trends of proficient versus the data that you're showing, that was presented earlier on percentages, meets, approaches? Because it could be possible that the proficient, the accomplished could be maybe not evaluated correctly because we're achieving
That's a good point.
the outcomes, or we are getting the results, or vice versa.
Right.
You know, we want to be able to try to, I would assume that we want to isolate those as best we can. Is it a teacher issue? Is it, you know?
Absolutely. Great, that's a great point, sir. That we do trail the data as we look at the data, and we look at it by classrooms, and we do look to see if there's alignment with teacher performance is what we're seeing. And typically it does. I mean, there's typically a correlation. Sometimes there's some outliers where kids will perform in spite of the teacher, but in most cases, there's an alignment.
Okay, great, thank you.
Anyone else, board members? Okay. All right, we'll move on to the next item. Thank you, Ms. Young. The next item is number 3, report on board constraint number 2. The board shall not allow the introduction of new information or materials related to agenda items once the agenda is posted. Dr. Flores.
Yes, Dr. Paul, that is actually.
Oh, okay.
Board President.
Ms. Flores, correct me if I'm wrong on this one. This actually pertains to the board constraints. We just had our community meetings where we shared with the community what our constraints were, what our goals were, and this is one of the constraints that we as a board has put on ourselves. And what that is that I cannot sit here and come with a bunch of data and say, okay, I want to share this with all my board members, because information should be provided in advance, just as our superintendent does. We get backup information ahead of time to give us time to digest it and make a good decision on. So this is one of our constraints, that we not hand out information to the board at the day of the meeting. That's pretty much what it boils down to. Is there anything else on that? Yes, Ms. Flores.
And you're correct, Ms. Bravo, on that. It's just that we have to measure, the board must also, we're accountable, and we're measuring ourselves with that, and as a reminder, it's a constraint, so we have to be cognizant that this is not going to happen. And so we're at a point in this constraint where it's got to be measured, and it's being presented so often to the board to remind us of this. The only thing that I could say that it's not of the board, this constraint is more maybe with staff, Dr. Flores, and through no fault of anyone, I guess it's just maybe we have gotten some
material the day of the presentation, and I know, Ms. Bravo, you have asked if we can have a copy of those, because we're just seeing it for the first time, but that's staff, and it's not a staff constraint.
Sure.
But it, you know, the board is doing well, doing fine there, because we're not introducing anything. It's just sometimes, every now and then,
Right.
we will get some new material that we're seeing for the first time. Yes.
Yeah, and we're working on tightening up those procedures, and especially now it's more important than ever, now that we have a new board, and we want to reaffirm our commitment to the Lone Star governance model. You will be getting the reports on a timely manner, completed, finalized. If in the event that we do happen to have something late, I will make sure that we highlight that this is an exception and not the norm. So we'll work on that, and you'll expect to see improvement on that.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Lewis. Okay, next item on the agenda is consent. We have consent items 1 through 5. Number 6 will be voted on separately as an action item. Consent item 1 is approval of the November amendment. Number 2 is approval of RFP 2019-01, Child Nutrition Graphic Design Services. Number 3 is approved purchase of TI 84 plus CE calculators for 8th grade. Number 4 is approved new budget proposal for the Head Start non-competitive grant renewal. And number 5 is approved payment for days worked by superintendent prior to finalization of employment contract. Board members, are there any items here that we need to pull for discussion? Yes, Ms. Bennett.
I pull the number 4.
Number 4? Okay. Anyone else? No? Okay. Therefore, at this time, I will, if anyone has a motion to approve items 1, 2, 3, and 5.
Madam Chair, I move to approve items 1, 2, 3, and 5.
I have a motion by Ms. Flores. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Rodriguez. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, Ms. Ibarra, you asked to pull the new budget proposal for Head Start non-competitive grant renewal. Think you have a question?
Yes, on the Head Start, are the children that start, coming to the program, are they already potty trained for this, before they start the Head Start?
Good evening.
Okay.
No, some of them are not, because they're 3 years old.
So wasn't it, before that, before starting Head Start, they will come as potty trained? Because
We never had 3-year-olds in Head Start. This is our first year having them, so this year they can come without being potty trained.
Any other questions? I do have a question. I think I understand what Ms. Penny is trying to say. I think her concern is that puts a lot of responsibility on staff as far as the care and making sure that, they're handled with kid gloves and nothing's happening and the staff is doing what they need to do. What precautions are we taking to make sure that, these are babies, they're going to have to be changed their diapers, and we want to make sure that, I guess, nothing inappropriate is happening and that these kids are okay.
So Head Start also provides wraparound services, as Dr. Flores has stated, and part of the grant is that we cannot deny any of our students that are not potty trained to come in. So before they do come in, we do have the conversations with the parents that we do recommend that they do have some sort of potty training and bring them already in pull-ups. And we do offer classes to the parents, because that's part of our grant also, in potty training classes. So we do provide that for our parents, and we get them, also the teachers and the paraprofessionals trained on that, so they know exactly and adequately how to service the children on that.
Wonderful. All right, thank you so much. Okay, so do I?
One question.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Ibarra.
What is the Head Start, what grades does it focus on now?
Pre-K.
Three or
3 and 4 years.
So does the 3 and 4 year old, is there a curriculum for those grades, or has that changed from previous years?
No, it hasn't changed. We use the Scholastic today.
So the Head Start curriculum right now is aligned with the kindergarten, the statewide where they need to know and identify alphabet and start to read
Yes.
by kindergarten?
Head Start follows the Early Learning Outcome Framework, and we do have a pre-reading component in the Scholastic Big Day curriculum. However, our adoption is not until 2020, so if you notice on the budget, I have $96,000 allocated for early literacy, and where we want to purchase curriculum, because we believe that's too far ahead to wait, because we want to align with the district so our kids are moving in the direction that the district is moving.
Good deal. That's what I needed clarification on. Thank you.
Sure, okay, thank you, Mr. Barber. Any other questions? If not, do I hear a motion for item number 4?
Move to approve.
I have a motion by Ms. Flores. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Ibarra. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Next item is an action item, is to approve the pending litigation style civil action number 518 CB 00471 FB Ruben Martinez versus South San Antonio Independent School District in the United States District Court, Western District of Texas, San Antonio Division. Dr. Flores?
Yes, ma'am. We discussed that.
Madam Chair, I have a motion.
Yes, Mr. Ibarra.
Let me recommend that you, instruct counsel, litigation counsel with respect to this litigation to proceed as discussed in closed meeting.
Okay, I think you have a motion, Mr. Ibarra.
I move that we direct legal counsel to proceed as discussed in executive session on this item.
I have a motion by Mr. Ibarra. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Flores. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Do I hear a motion for adjournment?
Move to adjourn.
A motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Rodriguez. The time is 8:30.
I don't know about that, sir. I don't know.